The purpose of this video is to examine the differences between Jin-roh and its live-action adaptation, Illang. To do that, I'll examine the plot of both movies in detail, starting with the original. My spoiler-free opinion is that while both movies are very similar, Jin-roh is the superior one. So with the spoiler warning out of the way, let's start with the plot. The movie opens with a sequence explaining the events leading up to our story. After World War II, Japan pursues an aggressive growth policy that leads somehow to poverty for many, and the resulting social unrest causes the rise of anarchist groups. Because of the restriction imposed on the Japanese military forces, the government decides to create a paramilitary group, the Capitol Police, to combat the anti-government threat. After several defeats, the survivors of the various terrorist groups unites under the banner of an organization called the Sect. The fight between the sect and the special unit, an elite special operations squad of the Capitol Police, are more violent than ever, and the public opinion of them drops as a result of the cities being turned into war zones. Our story takes place near the very end of this conflict, as a special unit, with the sect on the brink of being completely annihilated, is in an increasingly marginalized role within the Capitol Police. We cut in the tip of the action as a protest is taking place and Molotov cocktails are being thrown at the police, while a girl in a red coat walks around. She's beckoned by a man and given a bag. Meanwhile, we're shown that the Capitol Police is purposefully held back, and that the equipment difference between them and the local police is substantial. The girl's bag is taken by a man and brought to the front of the protest, where it is revealed to be a satchel charge. The police decides to charge in order to try and disperse the mob. The sect retreats into the sewers and the girl is given another satchel and told where to go. The other sect members are caught by the special unit and told to surrender. They don't and get gunned down. The girl tries unsuccessfully to evade the threat, but finds herself in front of a nameless special unit member. She decides to detonate the explosive rather than be captured alive. The soldier is unable to shoot her before she does. The explosion causes a blackout, and many of the protesters that were detained manage to escape. The soldier is Kazuki Fuse, our main character. The heads of the Capitol Police meet to discuss the event, and we find out that the sewer operation was conducted without the authorization or knowledge of the local police, which were in charge of the situation. They also discuss how committed the sect is, and that using little girls as bomb carriers is an old trick of theirs. They're called Red Riding Hoods. They discuss the rumors of the Wolf Brigade, a rogue organization within the special unit whose real purpose is unknown. Fuse is trialed. When asked why he didn't shoot, he replies with, he's sentenced to repeat training. A very short montage later is shown to have disinterest in bonding with his new training comrades. He goes to a museum to meet Hatsui Henmi, an old pal of his and special unit dropout, who's now working for Public Security, an organization within the Capitol Police that's somewhat of a rival for the special unit. He has heard of Fuse's mental state and is trying to help him by giving him secret information about the girl he couldn't shoot. Her identity was apparently hard to pin down, as not much was left to identify her with. He then goes to pay respect to her family grave and meets her sister, Kei. He reveals his identity off camera and we cut to some moments later as they're walking down a river. She explained that she doesn't blame him for her sister's death and decided to give him a book, Rotkapchen, the German tale of Red Riding Hood. We cut to a live exercise while we hear Kei narrating the book. Fuse is still distracted though, and when he has the opportunity to hit the enemy, he ends up getting hit by a rubber bullet instead. The squad get yelled at for a while Emni talks to Fuse's new instructor, Hachiro Tobe. He too is unwilling or unable to tell him why Fuse didn't shoot. While Fuse and Kei spend more time together, he has a vision of her getting eaten by wolves.
あなたは来られないわ。
We then see some members of General Command trying to strike a secret deal with the leader of the Capital Police. They propose to merge their organization to shift the counter-terror focus from brute force to counterintelligence. This, however, will require them to sacrifice the special unit. Their plan is revealed. Kei isn't the girl's sister, but an ex-Red Riding Hood, hired by Emily to get close with Fuse to eventually stage a scandal. Unbeknown to them, however, the special unit got wind of their plan and photos of the meeting are sent to Fuse. After a while, he receives a call by Kei asking for his help, as apparently she fears she's being followed. Fuse grabs an handgun secretly stashed in a book, goes out of the window and sneaks off to meet her. The trap is set at the museum from before, but Fuse is ready for it. He incapacitates a policeman and steals his gun, wraps it in his coat and drops it from a stairwell to gather the attention of his assailant. One man is left to guard the girl and is promptly neutralized. Fuse asks her if the satchel charge she's carrying is real. She reveals that it isn't. She explains the plan to him, but Fuse knows the details already and kind of surprised that he would come even though he knew. They steal the car and run away. The local police botched the operation and is now giving orders to shoot on sight, while Emily seems unsurprised about the outcome. He gathers the security division special forces and goes after Fuse, apparently able to tell where he is.
逃げないのか。
She reveals who she really is and proposes to him to run away with her. Fuse doesn't seem completely against the idea, but he says that he's got things he must do. They share a tender moment and a single kiss. They enter the sewer some moments later and find themselves where the girl blew herself up. Fuse is completely unmoved by this. They wait around the bullet hole-filled sewers for a while before being approached by other members of the Wolf Brigade, each carrying a baggage. One of them is Tobe, Fuse's drill instructor. Enemy arrives and we see that the baggages contain Fuse's equipment. The drill instructor explains the situation to Kei. They knew of her involvement with the security division since she first met with Fuse. She is living proof of their schemes and is now in the special unit hands. He quickly searches the fake satchel to find a tracking device.
でも保険はかけるさ。もっともこの手を偏見に教えたのは俺なんだがな。
Fuse is fully suited, and as most of his comrades disperse in the sewers, Kei breaks down.
仕方ないじゃない。どうしようもなかったのよ。
She yells that she would have run away with him if he wanted to, and that she would have been happy just dying with him. The final part of the movie commences as Fuse hunts down Emily and the special forces with the help of the Wolf Squad. Most of them get mowed down like chaff as Emily runs away. One last policeman tries to take Fuse down with a rifle grenade but fails. Emily is alone, wounded, soaked and cornered.
なぜだ。なぜあの時お前は撃たなかった。何が違うというのだ。俺と何が。お前だって人間じゃねえか。せー
cut to some time later as Kei is about to be executed by the Wolf Squad, both to be sure she never falls in the wrong hands and because of her crimes as a bomb carrier. Fuse is tasked to shoot her and the two are given some space. She hugs him and starts quoting Red Riding Hood, knowing her fate. Fuse closes his eyes, grinds his teeth and shoots her. Amanda was ready to shoot if Fuse failed and cocks his gun, and Tobe finishes the story.
そして狼は赤ずきんを食べた。
So, what are the themes of this movie? The most prevalent is the idea of someone figuratively turning into a beast, as in exchanging any semblance of social life and morality for solitude and power. The parallel between this story and the Red Riding Hood is also something the movie wants us to think about, although I don't feel like it fits much, mostly because the wolf has no character in it, no arc or motivation either, it's just an angry beast. But maybe the movie is trying to imply that Fuse always was a beast.
所詮はあいつも人間ってことですかね。
さあな。だがどんなに痛めつけられても獣として生きることに安らぎを感じる者もいる。
あいつがそうだと。
ま、わかるまで繰り返すさ。
Another theme of the story is power to strength. At the very beginning we see the local police being under severe pressure from the protesters as some particularly vicious Molotov cocktails are being thrown at them. Even when the satchel charge goes off, they refuse to call them in. They are afraid of a possible bloodbath.
見ろ、あの燃え方。マグネシウムやナパームジェリーを混合した特殊火炎瓶だ。
あの中にセクトのメンバーが。
とはいえ、全体としては烏合の衆。撃って出れば一度の突撃で蹴散らせる。謙虚の網に数人でも引っかかれば儲けものだが、時機を失えば突撃の効果も薄れる。
出ますか。
自治系との共同警備とはいえ、この場の指揮権は彼らにある。お手並み拝見といくさ。
No effort is made to try and capture the sect members alive. They are asked to surrender, yes, but given the notoriety of their fanaticism, they should have had some ways to incapacitate them. Tear gas immediately comes to mind. When Fuse is facing the girl, he is immediately given the order to shoot her. And lastly, when they end up in the sewers with Kai, they don't just leave, they purposefully and perhaps needlessly murder Hemni. Needlessly meaning not in self-defense, as they definitely had political reasons to kill him. It is pretty obvious that the subtext of the story is about the Capitol Police trying to gain more power by eliminating the opposition. And maybe there's something to be said about the sheer amount of beautifully animated German guns in the movie. The terrorists are the only one who don't use German weapons exclusively. Sure, the MG42 the special unit uses is probably the best time appropriate weapon they could have used for the job, but it doesn't explain why they didn't use Japanese World War II weapon for the other characters, or even American ones, as Japan did buy lots of surplus gun in the post-World War II period. Anyhow, let's see how Illang compares. Despite the similarities, even going so far to recreate some sequences shot by shot, this movie is different enough from the original to warrant going through every change. First of all, it is set in the near future of 2029, and while it never really becomes futuristic, it's an excuse to show some modern gadgets and locations. The premise is also changed. Illang is a Korean movie set in Korea. The conflict is still between the sect and the special unit, but this time the sect is an anti-reunification movement. The story goes like this. It's 2024 and China's being more belligerent than usual. Japan's remilitarizes as a result, and both Russia and the US are on edge for the whole situation. To ensure their survival, the two Koreas push for unification, but the world powers fear a unified Korea and impose heavy sanctions on the country. I have something good to say about this change, but for now let me just say that this is both laughable and ridiculous, especially since this movie was made while the relationship between the two Koreas are an all-time high thanks to the interventions of foreign powers. It also does not make sense that the special unit isn't under the jurisdiction of either the army or the police, and thus invalidates the main conflict of the story. Mostly because the Capitol Police just isn't a thing in this universe, it has no equivalent. Another change is that the special unit already has one scandal on its back before we start the story. In an event known as Bloody Friday, Korean Tobe led a squad of the special unit with Korean Fuse in it in a night raid at a school, and several unarmed and innocent schoolgirls ends up dead. Apparently this isn't enough to have him demoted or anything. This is also given as the reason about the special unit wearing their masks. We're treated to the same protest with two major changes. First of all, the police is awaiting the arrival of the special unit, and second, after the satchel is thrown, some protester turns out to be armed and starts shooting at the police, and the policemen just stand there. We're also shown that the sect has no problem shooting through fleeing protesters. The police tries to hold them back with nothing launchers that launch nothing in particular. Anyway, the special unit comes from the back of the protest in some big trucks, and after a short briefing moves underground to hunt down the fleeing sect members. Here, there are two other key differences. Not only the special police has an authorization to conduct the sewer mission, in this version the sewers are also a known hideout of the sect. And the special unit waited until they will be on full alert before getting them. And they enter it with a flamethrower first to burn documents they should probably be collecting. This is the only scene with a flamethrower, by the way, so I've got no clue what they were going for. They don't even kill anybody with it, they just destroy evidence. The special unit catches up to the sect, shoots them with some particularly ineffective rubber bullets, and apparently has to inform them that they're going to kill them.
특별한 시행령 제2조 부분 즉 3항 선제 공격에 대한 부실한 대응 사격을 시작.
Then Fuse meets the girl and the rest is history. So, with the conducted operation being known and legal, why will the special unit be under scrutiny? It is never really explained. Here we get our Korean Fuse's name, Lim, and Korean Tobe is called Jin-tae. He's present at the special unit brass meeting for some reason. Also Korean Hemni is called Han. He and Lim meet at a special unit training building instead of a museum. And he doesn't just hand him information about the girl, he gives him her journal found at the crime scene. He gives him evidence he should have no business having. He doesn't even mention this being illegal. Not only that, but he also tells him that she had a sister and encourages him to bring her the diary, to give evidence to a civilian. Before he meets her, however, we get the exercise scene, when they're not wearing their full gear this time. The scene set a precedent for the action in this movie. It is a lot less grounded and a bit more bombastic than Jin-roh's, with the exception of one particular aspect which I'll go over later. These rubber bullets hit hard enough to incapacitate body armor wearing able-bodied special forces, but not the sect members from before, by the way. Lim doesn't fail to shoot his real instructor because of a vision, this time he just gets barely distracted by it. Lim calls the sister, meets her, and turns out she has a bookstore. Although it isn't her real name, she's called Lee. They go there and find the Red Riding Hood book, and apparently Lim only know the happy version of the story. After he departs, she meets with Han. The plan is revealed to the audience and she gets slapped for no reason whatsoever. The public security leaders meet at a barber and discuss about the Wolf Squad, which they know to be a secret squad of assassins of the special unit. The trap is being set, but first we're introduced to two new characters. Ku, an ex-member of the sect, and Kim, a Wolf Squad member. Ku exposes herself by talking to Lee about the sect, and Kim starts tailing her instead. They fight for a while and she's captured. She's interrogated and it's revealed to her and the audience that the sect was funded by public security and that Lee was forced to murder for them and thus blackmailed into taking more jobs. The trap is set at a museum in a skyscraper during opening hours, which is definitely less suspicious of a situation than in Jin-roh. She's also given a tracking device that she has to activate. Lee is about to plant a gun on Lim, I think, when she's stopped by Ku. she tells her not to trust anyone, and apparently this is enough to make every public security agent start pointing guns around. Ku escapes, Lim gets into a gunfight and eliminates every hostile on the museum floor. A machine gun wielding drone is sent to shoot him, but it barely lasts a minute, and both our heroes escape from the window thanks to a fire hose. He gets to the parking lot, steals a car, and an action sequence later reveals to Han that he knows about his involvement with the sect. The manhunt is fully on and their faces are publicly shown around the city. This is another problem with the story. In Jin-roh, the Wolf Squad is able to bait public security into the sewers because they don't know that the special unit is aware of their plan. Not only will it be impossible for them not to know about this in the era of cell phones and social media, but Lim straight out sent him pictures.
다 설명할 테니까 나오라고 이 새끼야!
Both the couple and Kim, the agent from before, move towards one of their safe houses, but Kim is captured and accidentally killed by Han during an interrogation. You think the murder of a demonstrably innocent man would be enough to shake the story up a bit, but it isn't. Going through the sewer is a plan B receives after reporting to HQ that is unable to reach the safe house. But before that, we get the biggest 180 of any scene, which is the tender moment they shared in the original movie. This time, Lim is just dismissive of her feelings, so much so that he flat out says
여자는 더 이상 필요 없습니다. 저들의 모든 정황이 확인되었으니
when at the phone with his superior. She's so wounded by this that she decides to activate the locator, much to Han's relief, only to immediately tell him what she did after they entered the sewers. In the meantime, a great number of public security forces, including their own special operation team, goes to hunt him down, and this is taken as an opportunity by the special unit forces to occupy some kind of building. This event is never explained or referenced again. The Wolf Squad meets in the sewer. Lim suits up, plot explained to Lee, her real name is Kim. And we get no emotional scene from her this time. Some public security goons die, but they manage to warn Han, and he still goes down in the sewer alongside the special operation team. The kind of special operation team who laughs at corpses. Two of them kite him around until they don't anymore. A trap is set with explosive but barely does anything to him, and then we found that his only vulnerabilities are poons. They didn't bring enough though. Han shoots one of his guys because he's just that evil, and then he gets cornered. Lim asks him to surrender this time. The outcome is the same but without the screaming. They drive Kim to an abandoned building to execute her. This time the only reason given is because she's a terrorist. They should have probably just given her to a tribunal. Also both her and Lim's faces were televised. Surely it's not so easy to make her disappear like that? Especially considering that Lim was on the newspaper mere days ago, he's recognizable at this point. They're going to have to publicly clean up his record, so why not do that with Kim too? Or again, just give her up to a tribunal to decide her punishment. Lim steps in, is given the gun, and the Wolf Squad drives away. Let's hope Lim doesn't just let her go.
네 이야기를 잘 듣기 위해서지. 할머니 그런데 왜?
찾아와.
One sniper is left behind to ensure that Kim would die, but when he informs Jin-tae, he's told to retreat for some ungodly reason. Kim escapes, and Lim is left to confront his drill instructor. They forget that they're both impervious to bullets and just have fun shooting each other for a while, I guess. Then they end up pointing guns at each other, again forgetting that they're both bulletproof. Lim lowers his gun and says that he's quitting. Everybody's fine, however, including Lim. So, the first problem I have with this movie is with the action. The original was very somber. The protagonist never gets in a gunfight until the very end when he's fully geared up and has the upper end. There's no jumping around dodging bullets, no drone, no exploding cars, no harpoons. But the new one did do a good job of portraying the armor in a better way. First of all, there's the reason why they conduct the exercise near the beginning in traditional body armor instead of the iconic combat armor. In Jin-roh we see them being hurt by rubber bullets, but we don't see them even phased by gunfire. I mean, sure, they only get it with low caliber submachine guns in Jin-roh, while they get shot at with a high caliber assault rifle in the movie, but surely a projectile couldn't hurt you through all that bulletproof material without ruining it. Unless we want to assume that they were wearing a training version of their armor, which is believable. But in Illang, we also see him covering his face on multiple occasions, as it makes sense that it would be a weak point. That aside, I feel like the plot was changed for a real, although questionable reason. The subtext of this movie isn't about power or becoming a beast, it's mostly about the reunification of Korea. With this in mind, it is not hard to see why the plot was made more black and white. At the beginning, there's a notion that a unified Korea would be a great power to rival Japan and unnerve their neighbors. Everybody who's against it is either morally corrupt or just violent. The sect is anti-reunification, but it doesn't point any finger, meaning that the sect members aren't specifically foreigners, South Korean nationalists, North Korean commies or anarchists. Their motive is never truly explained. I mean, look at the girl that blows up. In Jin-roh she's terrified and completely panicking, and in Illang she's just angry. Our hero is good, never shoot first, and is truly devoted to his duty. The only reason why he ignored Kim's feeling is to keep her safe. He ends up saving the day and getting the girl. They don't even have to kill his drill instructor for this to happen. At the end, we even hear about the reunification process resuming, even though the political situation should be tenser than ever.
실질적인 리더로 알려진 섹트 남부연합위원장 엄철형이 기자회견을 연다는 소식인데요. 그동안 소문으로만 구성했던 섹트와 공안부의 뒷거래에 대한 진상을 밝히는 내용이라고 합니다.
There are also some little details that point to this as well. For example, the museum Fuse visit is a natural museum, while the museum Lim goes to is a Korean history museum. Also, the reason why Lim didn't shoot the girl isn't up for interpretation. He didn't because he was still traumatized by Bloody Friday. Regarding the weapons, it is very convenient for them that the MG42 has a rechambered modern equivalent that's identical to the old one, although it sounds way weaker than in the original movie. They could have decided to stay consistent and use only modern German weaponry for everyone except the sect, but they didn't. They also missed an opportunity to replace every weapon with Korean-made one, as it would have been fitting with the new theme, but it's understandable that they didn't. In conclusion, Illang takes his source material lightly. It replaced the themes with their own, and since they wanted to paint their unification in the best way possible, the complexity of the characters suffered. I wonder if this was needed. It was my understanding that a reunified Korea would be a no-brainer for the South, but after reading about it more, it seems like the public opinion is somewhat split. Many argue that South Korea has lots of problems already and reunification will just add more. I'm not well informed enough to state an opinion on the matter, but I personally feel like removing the North Korean culture from the Far East region would benefit everyone. And you can stay assured that the US, Japan, Russia and China will not be against it. Again, the biggest problem this movie has is the action. It's so generic and unengaging until the very end with the sewer section. We see Lim dodging bullets and jumping around in heavily choreographed gunfights, and it's nothing new, they don't suffer for it, and in the end it's more annoying than engaging. So watch Jin-roh if you haven't. It has beautiful animation, cool visuals and a more grey story. Its only real fault is the slow pace it has, although I personally don't feel like it's much of a problem. Regarding Illang, watch it if you're Korean or if you love modern action movies. There might be some better alternatives, but it's not the kind of movie I like to watch, so I can't say for sure. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching.